Jesus had some disciples, and one day they just finished feeding these thousands of people. And so after feeding thousands of people, he tells them to get into the boat. He says, okay, get into the boat, and I'm sending you over to the other side of the lake. Send you over to the other side of the sea. And so they get in the boat, they're going to the other side of the sea, and storms start to happen. And the boat is getting tossed. The boat is getting tossed, and they're dismayed. They're dismayed by the fact that, you know, this storm is coming. And so get this, while they're on the boat and the storm is happening, what happens? They see Jesus walking on the water. Okay, they're on the boat, they're getting tossed to and fro, and what happens? They see a man walking on the water, and guess what? They freak out. They freak out because he's walking on the water. They think it's a spirit, and they're afraid. And so here they are on the boat, getting tossed to and fro, and then they see Jesus, and they think it's a spirit. He's afraid. And so what happens right then is Jesus says, pretty much, be of good cheer. Hey, settle down, fellas. It is me. It's I. Do not be afraid. And so one particular guy on the boat, his name is Peter. Peter says, he said, Lord, if it's you, bid me to come. Tell me to come. And he said, tell me to come to you on the water. If it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And so Jesus tells him. He responds to Peter and says, come. And immediately, Peter gets out of the boat. He gets out of the boat and starts walking on water. And they said they saw him walking on the water. They were afraid. But then Peter says, if it's you, tell me to come. Jesus says, come. He walks on the water to go to Jesus. So he's walking on the water to go to Jesus. And then what happens? They saw him walking. They were afraid. He says, tell me to come. Jesus speaks, come. He gets out. He gets good. But what happens? What happens to Peter's vision? Peter says, now he doesn't say it, but Peter sees the wind being boisterous. He becomes afraid. He begins to sink. Again, no vision. It's not no vision of anything. This could really read, where there is no vision of Christ, the people will perish. Where there's no vision of him that we're supposed to be like, that we will be like, there's no vision of him, will perish, because guess what? Christ, in the religious circles, stuff will get messed up. But the Bible actually says, we're not going to make this really religious at all, because I'm about being empowered and empowering you. I'm not about having a philosophical religious discussion. But the Bible actually says Christ is the power of God. The Bible says somewhere else that Christ in you is the hope of glory. So if we let the Bible define itself, like any good book, you can read it, let it define itself, don't add your own stuff. So then, when we see Christ, when we see the power of God, we will be like him. We will be like the power of God. Because what? Christ is the power of God, and the power of God in us is the hope of glory. And so guess what? As we see the power of God in us, then we see the power. We don't see the wind. We don't see the situation. We see the power. And so when you focus, whatever you focus on, wherever your vision, ready again, wherever your vision is, that's what is going to determine whether or not you're sinking in life or whether or not we're walking on the water. See, this takes you all the way back. And this is where iDominate life comes from. Because again, I was a person getting my butt kicked in life. Let's just get that straight. And then I had to go back to the beginning. I said, I need to know not what someone has told me, but I need to know what it says right here. Right in the book. So, makes sense to me. Go to the beginning. In the beginning, it says, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion. He said, I've given you dominion over the fish, birds, fowl, beast, all this stuff. And so that was given by God. And in this moment, if you look at it in Genesis, it doesn't say I'm giving you dominion over the winds and those natural elements. But because his vision saw Christ, and we would be like him. Peter saw Christ. Peter became like him, and not only did he have the dominion that was assigned to him, but he had the full dominion of Christ, where he was now able to walk on the elements of life. And so it wasn't just for Peter, but if we don't see it, then we can never walk in it, because we think we're not entitled to that. And so your life and my life has a whole nother element to it if we would just see Christ. If we would see the power of God. See, the problem is we deny, some people deny flat out that God even exists. So if you deny God exists, there's absolutely no tapping into the power. There's a whole nother group that believes God exists, but then believes, wait until I get to heaven and then things will get good. Well, if God was so focused on you being in heaven, he wouldn't have set up earth this way. He wouldn't have sent power to earth and told you to have dominion in earth if his whole point was to get you off of earth. It's not the point. But somehow, if I can sell you that, I can keep you coming back week after week, dropping a few dollars in a bucket, and guess what? You'll be looking for your golden ticket to get off this rock. It's no good. You're supposed to, you're entitled to, you're destined to have power in the earth. And the power that's assigned to you is the power to change the world. But you can't change the world. You can't even change your life because you feel like, I have no power. But you have no power because your vision is off. And so, as we go through dominating life, there are natural situations and circumstances that I'm always going to deal with because I've been there. There's been through enough crap to know, you know what? There has to be an answer to this. And here's what I found. If you're going to dominate life, you better find out all that's required, all that you need to do. The instructions, there are instructions for dominance. It's a plug and play system, but you better know how to plug in. And he says it right in the beginning. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. Fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue. It's a formula for dominance. But the problem is, if we don't see it, we don't see that we can dominate life, because we don't see the power of God, we'll never tap into it, we'll never have it, our lives will always be weak.